Because of my criminal history, I'm asked a lot by the people around me because I'm not surrounded by criminals. My daily people, the daily people that I interact with have never done a crime. So I'm asked a lot about anything that has to do with street stuff, rap stuff, criminal stuff, and court stuff, justice stuff. So one of the things that's hot again right now that people are asking me about is the Puffy Combs things. So I'm going to give you guys my understanding of how the feds actually work, because the stuff that I'm seeing online doesn't represent what we actually know about how the feds work. Even these guys that are ex-convicts and super tough shot callers and all this other stuff, they're just whipping everybody up into a frenzy so that you think a very specific way so that you remain a loyal customer of those individuals. And since most people can't think for themselves, they stay in that whipped up frenzy. So I'm gonna give you guys some of the information that I know for a fact of how the feds work. I'm also gonna give you some examples of who got me to even make sure that I kept my mind open about this, and that was 50 Cent. This will stay in the video, don't think that it won't. And that was 50 Cent. And two of the things that he said, which made sure that I kept my mind open. I know that Andrew Tate is, the one who popularized the word perspicacious and perspicacity, but the highest level of perspicacity that I've ever seen in an individual is actually probably 50 Cent. He's constantly thinking things and breaking things down in a way that most people don't even stop to consider. So first though, I want you guys to understand that I am actually not a Puffy fan. I'm going to get into that in a second. The first thing I should say is if you are a person that believes that women are not responsible for anything that they do, they're only responsible for their successes in life, but they're never responsible for the bad decisions that they make in life, you should probably go. You're probably not going to like this video. If you're a person that, the internet is an exercise in the Dunning-Kruger effect. If you are a person that with very little information truly believes that you know everything, when in fact we both know you know nothing, but you speak with absolute confidence about everything that you're saying, you should probably also leave, because you're probably not gonna like this video. Because I'm probably gonna say things that you think are untrue because you just don't like the same way that they sound. So you could go. Anybody, if you have the ability to keep your mind open and recognize that there's, you're an individual who, even when you see things and they're presented to you a very specific way, you recognize like, okay, well, there's probably a lot about this situation that I don't know. You should probably stay. You will probably, you don't have, it doesn't mean you're going to agree with me, but you're probably going to understand a lot of things that I have to say. Man, the people, because those people mostly don't say anything because they recognize that they don't have the level of confidence because they're not as stupid as the people that think that they know everything and then therefore speak with complete confidence when they don't know, when they talk about stuff that they don't know about. Now, I actually don't like Puffy because, believe it or not, there was a while back in my life where I was involved in the music industry. The rap industry and the street life and streets were really intertwined for a long time. Now it seems to be in a different way, but still the same, but in a different way. And for all of you that is like, yeah, right, blah, 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 because you know everything without knowing me. If you can reach out you can find Blizz from Brass Knuckle Entertainment. He owns Brass Knuckle Entertainment. He will happily tell you like, nope, Gabriel was in the mix. Gabriel was there and he was in the mix. Now, what my job was, sounds like a dream job probably to many people. My job was I would just go to conventions with these different labels and different people and different companies and different artists. And they would take me to conventions and my job was literally just to dress well. I know you guys always see me in my gym clothes, but I have good, nice clothes. Obviously, everybody does. I dress nice. I'm able to articulate myself pretty well. I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6 foot tall. I'm an attractive man. It just is what it is. And I'm able to articulate myself pretty well. So my job was literally just to go with these people and be a front piece and talk up people, make really quick associations with people and get them into being, friendly and stuff like that. And then introduce them to the people that I was with and to see if any kind of business could be drummed up between them. So my job was literally just to drum up the possibility for some sort of collaboration to come up between the people that I was with and the people that we were around. So one of the first people that I was ever warned about, period, was actually Puffy. And for two reasons. And one of them, I was just like, what? Like, it was hard to believe. The first one is pretty simple. The first one, all labels they do the same thing. So, but he was supposedly he was the most egregious at it. He would take an artist that he knew he wanted to push, and then he would sign a bunch of artists that he knew he was not going to push. He was just going to shelve them that may have been a threat to his ability to push that one artist. Now, they all do this, but apparently he was like the most egregious at this. So what that means is even whatever artist that they choose, that they think they want to push out and, try to push their music out into the world. They sign a bunch of other artists that might be too close to them, whether lyrically, visually, doesn't matter. And they shelve them, which means, so they sign them to this contract and then they never let them put out any music. So now these people are signed to a contract that they can't get out of, and they're also not allowed to ever make any music. So now those people are just, you don't have to worry about them making music to, to interfere with the artist that they're trying to push. So, but they all do that. It doesn't matter which one you look at. They all do it. He was just supposedly like the most egregious at it. The second one was like, what the hell? Now, this is just a story that was told to me. I have been told this story multiple times throughout my life when I was involved in that industry. This was just the first story I was heard. There's also a bunch of other stories, but this one was told to me multiple times. So apparently he had a newer secretary, and the secretary walked in on the office, and when she walked in on the office, Puffy was behind the desk, but standing up. He wasn't sitting down. He was standing up behind his desk, and a high-profile male R&B singer of the time was behind the desk with him and giving him head. So a high-profile male R&B singer was giving Puffy head behind the desk. Now, they weren't hiding it because, the desk only comes up to my thighs if I stand up. So they weren't hiding at all. They weren't behind the desk to like mask it or anything. They weren't hiding at all. He didn't lock the door. He didn't do anything. So, of course, she was like, oh, my God. I guess he told the guy, don't stop. And she was like, oh, my God. So she walks out. He comes over later, tells her, hey, I just want you to know I'm not gay. It's all about power, blah, 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 da-da-da-da. Still fires her anyways. Now, I saw nothing. I have no idea if this story is true. None whatsoever. I just know that it was first story that I was told about this dude, and it's a story that I've been told multiple times since then. There's also plenty of other stories. We all know about the freak-offs. Everybody knows about the freak-offs. The freak-offs were not a secret in any shape, way, form, or fashion. People that had never been, I never was at one, never invited to one, never anything close to coming to one, and I knew about the freak-offs. That's how well-known they actually were. Now, so I don't like Puffy on just that general basis of who he is. I'm actually from the land. I'm from the West Coast. But we know who killed Tupac. We know who killed Tupac over there. There was a war over it. There's no conspiracy, guys. There's no conspiracy. We all know. Now, did he probably have an open bounty on Pac? Yeah, sure. Almost without doubt. He probably had one on Suge, Pac, Snoop, Dre, Corrupt, anybody that was in their camp. Just like I'm sure they had an open bounty on Puffy, Biggie, Lil C's, anybody that was in their camp. That's just the nature of the game. That's just how it goes. But we know who did it. That's not a conspiracy to us. But I did always think that he had a high probability of something to do with Biggie's death. And that's just a personal opinion because he's such a trash human being. So I just assumed that, in my opinion, the few things that the pieces of information that I was given, I just came to the conclusion that, that dude had something to do with it. Because he's a horrible human being. That is true. So I'm not a fan of him as a man. I don't really like his music. I'm from the West Coast. I just didn't really dig their music. I'm not saying there wasn't a few that I'm like, oh no, that sounds good. But just as a general rule, I'm cool. So I don't like him as a rule, right? But I for who he is as a person and just in general, I just never been a fan. That being said, here's what I know about the feds, guys. When you catch a federal case and when you catch a state case, they are very different. They are not the same thing. The state won't have the ability to fund a long-term investigation. So they will take the chance on just running in the house and hoping that they catch you with stuff. The state will actually 100% do that. They will also follow people. They will, they'll do some investigation and stuff like that, but they don't have the ability to do long-term investigations like the feds do. When the feds come knock on your door, this is something that we all know. As ex-convicts, if you've done enough time, even in state prison like myself, we all know how the feds work. We all know it. So any of these convict channels, these super tough convict dudes that are trying to tell you that this, and this, and they're not pointing out the fact that the feds actually operate very differently than the state. They're just trying to whip you up into a frenzy so that you'll be a long supporter of everything that they have to say. The more that these people can get you guys to think in the outer fringes of reality so that you're just whipped up emotionally all the time, that's just so that you'll stay. And that doesn't matter which media. It doesn't matter if you're choosing which legacy media, news outlets or YouTube channels or TikTok. It doesn't matter. These people are whipping you up emotionally so that you stay on the fringes of reality, so that they're able to maintain their hold on you. It's like building a cult. That's what it is. They're building a cult, and you guys just go right for it. Anyways, so if they're not telling you that how differently the states and the feds they work, then they're purposely misleading you so that you stay whipped up in that emotional frenzy. The feds will allow someone to commit crimes for 5, 10 years. They will allow you to commit crimes for 10 years and watch you the entire time, so that when they come knocking on your door, when they kick that door down and they arrest you, they have all the evidence that they ever possibly will need in order to convict you. Your conviction is already a sure thing. You are already guaranteed to be convicted. The only way you won't be convicted, because the feds don't play in both directions. Not only will they not play in their level of investigation that they'll do, they'll have your phones tapped, they'll have your house wired, they'll have cameras in your house and in your cars. They don't play. But they also don't play in the terms of, if some paperwork isn't filled out correctly, if there's even just the smallest, tiniest mistake, that case will get thrown out. So when the feds come, it is a meticulous, well-funded operation. It's not like the state where they just run in and hope they catch you with something. That is not how they operate. The state also does investigations, don't get me wrong. They'll follow people for months and stuff like that too, but not like the feds. The feds will put years into letting you commit crimes in order to make sure that when they take you down, you are guaranteed to go down in a ball of flames. You're not going to get out of it. Because that's how good they are, how good they are at what they do. And they make sure that all their T's are crossed and all their I's are dotted way before they came. So why do we have this situation where we have this group of individuals that are well-funded and will allow somebody to commit crimes for 5 to 10 years, watching them the entire time commit the crimes in order to secure their, convictions, in order to secure their convictions of these individuals? Why do we all of a sudden have this one individual who goes through all of this stuff, and then at the very end, they drop a bunch of different charges so they can just focus on the 2 lowest charges that we know for sure he was going to get hit for? He was transporting prostitutes. We know once that we were made aware what that is, we know he's going down for that. We all know that he's been doing that, right? So why would they drop all these heavy charges at the very end just to concentrate on these 2 lowest charges? Now, the overwhelming majority of you ass clowns will be like, oh, because he has money and connections. Shut the hell up. He's still just a black dude. He don't have those kinds of connections. He will go down just like anybody else. And this situation is a perfect example of it. They took this down. You guys may think that he got off, but they ruined this man's abilities in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, they've tarnished his reputation in a way that's going to probably hamper him from getting a lot of different things done. Now, where does 50 Cent come into this, other than all the massive levels of trolling that he does? So he pointed out these 2 things that made sure that I kept my mind open. He was like, man, when he was talking about the video with, well, he's talking about the whole thing. And first he was talking about how these civil charges, he's like, don't think that these don't turn into criminal charges. He's like, don't think that they won't turn into criminal charges. And he even says why. He goes, because he has, talking about Puffy, he has a lawsuit against a multi-billion-dollar industry right now over Ciroc, his alcohol. So he has a lawsuit going against these individuals who do not have regulations. This is not a highly regulated industry. So these people have pretty much carte blanche to do anything that they want for the most part. It's not regulated it's not hyper regulated. Let's put it that way. So he has the ability. So we got this guy who's going up against them, who has the ability of throwing a rock in this industry's pond in order to disrupt everything that they have going on. So he says straight out, he's like, don't think that these don't turn into criminal charges, because he has that lawsuit against those guys. He points it out specifically and directly. And they're like, yeah, but you have an alcohol deal. And he was like, I'm not trying to sue them. He points out the difference right then and there. He also points out that when people turn in videos and stuff like that, They turn it into TMZ. Nobody goes to the news outlets. They go to TMZ. People trying to get paid. That's what they want. And it didn't go to TMZ. It went to the news outlet, which makes it seem like it was coming from some people that still think in the old model of releasing things to the legacy media outlets and to dirty up and tarnish his name before they came and arrested him. Now, this seems to actually be accurate. It does seem to be accurate. Now, again, I don't know anything. I don't know everything for sure. So all I know is we have somebody who's able to clearly, whose opinion I actually respect on many things. And that's 50. His level of perspicacity is extremely high. We have this person being like, okay, well, like, you know, there is these things going on, these things on the undercurrent that are happening. So don't think that stuff like that won't happen. And then I've seen the video, and I saw it a long time ago, of him, you know, whooping Cassie's ass in front of the elevator and in the hallway or whatever. Now, I did see the video, but I'm not going to lie. Me being someone who doesn't know anything, I didn't understand what I was looking at either. I thought, when I first saw it, that she was stealing whatever the bag was. Because he seemed extremely interested in the bag. He got her away from the bag. I think he kicked her or whatever, but he made sure to grab that bag. I think he like dragged her down the hall by her hair or whatever too. But it looked to me like she might have been stealing the bag. It looked to me like he might have been more worried about what was in the bag than he was anything else. Now, I don't know that. I don't have a clue. I don't have a damn clue. I don't know what was in the bag. I don't know why she ran out of the room. I don't know why he kicked her ass. I mean, other than he was angry and stupid. I mean, I got that part, but I don't actually know everything that was going on in that situation. But it doesn't look to me, when I first saw it, and I had no context of what was happening. You got to remember, I saw it with no sound, no nothing. I wasn't listening to anybody tell me what I'm supposed to be watching. So I'm just watching the video without any sound and without anybody telling me what I'm supposed to be looking for. And I thought he was mad about the bag because I didn't know what the situation was about yet. I just saw it. I was like, oh shit. And I looked up and I watched it. And then I did the tiniest bit of research ever. And I was like, oh, okay. But when I saw it with no sound and everything, I thought he was mad at her for taking the bag. That's what it looked like to me. And that's a possibility. I know all of you that think that you know everything without knowing anything are like, no, this, that, three other things, blah, blah, blah. She definitely. You don't fucking know. You don't have a clue. We're not part of the situation. So in my opinion, well, not even my opinion, I know for a fact that the feds work vastly different. And they moved on Puffy before they had the evidence to prove the charges that they were bringing against him. The feds do not do that, guys. That is not a normal habit for the feds. I don't know any other times that they've done it, but I know it's not a normal habit for the feds. Now, the state will do that. The state will pack on as many charges as they can, and then they'll drop and modify whatever ones they have to over time in order to get the conviction that they need and they want. The state does that. The feds don't do that. The feds you are going down in a ball of flames. And I mean, to my knowledge, that's not a regular occurrence. I've never heard of it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's not with regularity that it happens. What they come with is they have the evidence to prove that you did. So they moved on this man without having the evidence that they needed beforehand, which is highly irregular. And then at the very end have to drop all those charges. I honestly don't think, based off of what I know about the feds, that this man, he probably didn't do all that other stuff. If they would have found one piece of evidence, like true piece of evidence, that would have shown that he was doing, like he was forcing people with guns and all this other stuff. If he was doing all of that other stuff, man, they would have used that evidence and they would have taken him down in a ball of flames. He doesn't have the money and the influence that you guys think he does. The higher probability is the charges that were brought against him were pushed to be brought against him by people that have real money and influence. People that are part of those billion-dollar industries. Sean Combs is a flea. He's a fleck. He's nobody to those people. He isn't who you guys are trying to estimate him out to be. He doesn't have, nobody's going to get him out of that. Nobody is. If they would have had one piece of evidence, he would have went down in a ball of flames. Somebody who had more actual ability to impose influence would have been Epstein. And he went down in a ball of flames and then they killed him. So, I mean, you know, make it make sense. Which one is it? Sean does not have that kind of influence. And they made sure that from here forward, he'll never have the level of influence that he had before, nor will he be able to build that kind of influence again. I mean, I'm not saying that never, because anything is possible and he might, you know, He's only going to do like another year, just so you guys know. If he's done a year or something around a year and he got a little over 4 months, you're going to do 85% of your time. And with the feds, I think it's at 12 months, you can go to a halfway house and before you get out, 12 months before you get out. And then like 6 months before you get out, you can go to your own residence. You can go to, home supervision. So the odds are probably going to be, he's only going to do something around another year, maybe a year and a half, 18 months, and then he's going to be out. And that gives him a lot of time that if he's not sitting in there feeling sorry for himself, that gives him a lot of time to start planning and plotting and figuring out what he's going to do and how he's going to do it and who he's going to work with and all these other things. So this man now has a year to a year and a half to put together a plan, his comeback, tour, basically. But if they had any evidence, guys, if they had any evidence whatsoever, they wouldn't have dropped those charges at all. They wouldn't have done it. It would not have happened. And if they would have, and they didn't, that means that they didn't have the evidence before they moved on him. That means they never had the evidence. That means somebody with real power. That means people with real pull, with real influence, most likely caused him to be moved on before the feds ever would have done it. The feds in real life, and without any kind of outside influence, they would have just watched him for the next couple of years. They would have just started, where is he going to be? Where does he do these things at? Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, they got all the information that they can get from Cassie. Where do these things happen at? How do they take place? Who does he work with? Oh, okay. How often does he call you? He calls you regularly. The next time you go, this is what we need you to do. If you don't do it, you're facing these charges. Oh yeah, I'm going to do it. All those male prostitutes would have been like, yep, I'll do whatever you need me to do. Whatever you need me to do. I get naked. How do you want me to wear a wire? Oh, just leave it in my clothes. Oh, just find out where it's going to be so I can get there early and you guys can do it first. Yeah, no problem. We'll do all of that. They would have set it up. Be like, where does it always happen? It happens at this hotel. Oh, okay. He always gets this room. Oh, okay. I want you to make sure that this room is available if I call you. And he calls you, if he calls you, let me know. Same thing. We're going to talk to the hotel owners. They're going to be like, when he calls and he books a place, you let me know. We're on our way. Do you understand? Bro, it wouldn't have been difficult for them to get the information that they needed, given the time that they normally would have taken in order to get it. They're trying to get you guys to look at stuff that they want you guys to pay attention to stuff that's down here so that you guys don't ever see what's going on in here. And then legacy media and YouTubers, they just want you thinking out here. They just don't want you to come back to the center and think for yourself. The worst thing that can ever happen to those people is that you guys start thinking for yourself. Now, I don't know anything. He could be guilty as sin, but the odds are highly unlikely that they ever had any evidence for this stuff and they moved before they normally would have. And they have the resources and the ability to have taken the time to get the information and the evidence that they need. They've done it countless times. So my opinion is, I don't think he was really guilty. I think he's a terrible human being. I don't like him as a human being. I don't want to be in a room with him. I damn sure would never show up to one of these parties because I have heard other things that happen to male artists. So, they'll get drugged and and then bad things will happen to them. It'll happen to them on camera. But man, if they would have found any evidence for this, any evidence whatsoever, they would have used it and that man would have been down in a ball of flames. So I'm not saying that he isn't innocent. I mean, he isn't guilty. I'm not saying that he isn't guilty. I'm not saying that he is innocent. What I am saying is more is going on in this particular situation than what everybody is paying attention to. They got you guys paying attention to this stuff down here so you don't pay attention to what's happening up here. That seems like a much higher likelihood and probability to me. You guys can disagree all you want, but I do know what I do know, and I also don't know what I don't know, and I'm very clear and honest about the things that I don't know. So that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up. That's my take on it. I don't care if I win anybody over because my argument with and for this or against this or whatever doesn't change my life in any shape, way, form, or fashion. It's also not going to change yours. Whether you disagree with me heartily or whether you agree with me readily, either which one, or whether I changed your mind, where you went from agreeing with me to not agreeing with me, or from not agreeing with me to agreeing with me. The bigger part of this whole thing is that it doesn't change my life and it doesn't change your life. It doesn't change the world at all. Me having an opinion on this video and you having an opinion on this, or this situation, and you having an opinion on this situation actually doesn't change our lives. That's the real bigger point. We should be concentrating on the things that are actually going to change our lives, get you to think for yourself so that you're not just getting whipped up into your emotions and thinking on the outskirts of reality, so that you're always at the whim of anybody who wants to whip up your emotions and have you think a specific way. That's more important. But since people kept asking me, and this is something that will get clicks so people can hear some of the things that I have to say, I decided to make a video about it. You guys can do what you want with the rest of this information. Have a good day.